Welcome to the lesson on adding new students to our Python application. In this lesson, we will learn how to create a simple program that allows us to add new student records to a system. This will involve using Python for the logic and MySQL as our database to store student information. By the end of this lesson, you will have a foundational understanding of how to manage data in a database using Python. Don't worry if this feels new at first. Now we're on understanding the requirements. Before we dive into coding, let's clarify what we need to do. Our goal is to, first, collect student information such as name, age, and email. Also, store this information in a MySQL database. Finally, ensure that we handle errors gracefully, such as duplicate entries. To achieve this, we will use the MySQL connector library in Python, which allows us to connect and interact with our MySQL database. Now, setting up the MySQL database. First, we need to set up our MySQL database. Open your MySQL command line or any MySQL GUI tool and execute the following SQL commands to create a database and a table for our students. I'll let you read the examples on screen rather than reading every line aloud. This SQL script creates a new database called school and a table named students with 3 fields: ID, name, age, and email. Let's move on to connecting to the database with Python. Now that our database is set up, let's write Python code to connect to the MySQL database. First, make sure you have the MySQL connector installed. You can install it using pip. See the example on this slide. Pause if you want to study the details. Next, we will write a function to establish a connection to the database. This sample defines a function. Review the implementation on the slide. Replace your _username and your _password with your actual MySQL credentials. Now, adding a new student. With our database connection established, we can now create a function that adds a new student. This function will take the student's name, age, and email as parameters and insert them into the database. Walk through the function definition shown in the code example. In this function, we use a try block to attempt to execute the SQL command. If an error occurs, for example, if the email is already in use, it will be caught in the except block and we can print an error message. This section covers putting it all together. Now we can use the add_student function to collect user input and add a new student. Here's how we can do this. Copy the starter code from the slide into your app file. The run steps are shown on screen. This code snippet will prompt the user for input and call the add_student function to add the entered student details to the database. In this lesson, we covered how to add new students to a system using Python and MySQL. We set up a MySQL database and created a table to store student information. We then wrote Python code to connect to the database and add new student records while handling potential errors. Alright, your turn. Give this a try. First, modify the add_student function to include a phone number field. Also, add validation to check if the age entered is a positive integer. Also, implement a feature to list all students in the database. Finally, enhance error handling to provide more specific messages for different types of errors.